You don't exist and I'm going to prove it, but you need to hear me out, and I know my voice is kind of gone right now, but it's not because I'm a drug addict, okay? So just please, stay open-minded. I came to find out that the sense of self dissolves on psychedelic substances, and the stronger the psychedelic, the more profound the effect, until the ultimate truth is revealed.
Bam! It's just a hallucination.
Right, pretty crazy coming from an AI voice character. This video could change your perspective on reality, but I need to explain a couple of concepts, starting with the first fact, that psychedelic's Latin root means mind manifested. But let's talk about God. I know many people view God as separate from themselves or non-existent, but in order to understand this video, you need to understand that God is everything, also referred to as omnipresent. So simply, duality means to be separate from the oneness of God. I'll be referring to God as the source. So one source projects all creation through many forms to create an illusion of separation. See the idea as having a form as a filter of the original source. Think of how pouring water into something will always take the shape of the container.
Why don't we remember this truth then, huh?
You're the dishwasher here, right?
Yeah?
Okay, then how does this whole restaurant operate?
I have no clue.
Exactly, you're looking from the bottom up, while someone above you is looking from the top down. Then we have non-duality, which is no separation, no filter, no form. Pure state of non-duality is a pure existence of union with the source. In this state, you don't exist, nothing does, and yet everything does at the same time, because simply all of reality is God playing different roles. I'm God, you're God, so is the screen you're watching this on. Even this picture is. Let's use a couple polarities to simplify this concept. So these terms generally all mean the same thing. Duality to non-duality, hell to heaven, or separation from God to union with God.
Isn't there supposed to be a skit here?
Nah bro, that's form.
Okay, next.
And then there's ego dissolution. Remember when I said one source projects all creation through many forms to create an illusion of separation? The ego is that illusion, the sense of being a separate conscious creature. It's the identity we call me. Ego dissolution is the peeling away of those identity layers, and when the sense of self disappears entirely, that's what we call ego death, especially in deep psychedelic states. And then we have consciousness levels. With the concepts we have so far, it would theoretically put animals closer to non-duality than humans, right? This is where the scale of consciousness comes in. Animals function purely in the lower self, fear, and personal survival. While humans quite often do as well, they had the potential to touch the higher levels, which is why in Buddhism, the human realm is considered a first heaven due to the chance of enlightenment.
On God, bro, that was so fire. Bro, deadass, this deer about to get rizzed up.
Run.
Now this is where it gets strange. Under these psychedelic experiences, you'll run into conscious creatures who often are seemingly much more intelligent than you, but the difference is they don't have a physical body like us. In a sense, you could be considered an entity, but they are free from the physical form, going towards there being a higher realm than ours that still includes an identifiable self. It should be noted that while not all these entities are known by name, many of these entities can be identifiable to many different religions and mythologies throughout history. I'm going to organize these substances based on how strongly they can induce a non-dual state, starting with the ones that create the most separation in ego and moving up towards those that dissolve the self completely. As we go higher, you'll notice a pattern. The more the illusion of separation fades, the more present the entities become.
I'm too high to get this, man.
Hey, no worries, bud. Just go back to this timestamp right here, and I know you'll get it eventually.
Bruh.
Since the majority of us don't have experience with all these substances, I'll start off with one that's very common.
Weed actually strengthens duality. It enhances sensory perception, introspection, and bodily awareness, all of which reinforce the ego. Paranoia, overthinking, and emotional looping are common, keeping you trapped in the self. This edible ain't shit. Is that my car? Wait, did I lock my car?
While some claim spiritual insight, true non-dual states are rare. At best, with deep meditation, you might experience a mild softening of boundaries, but even that is fragile and short-lived. The mind tends to spiral, not dissolve. Entity contact is virtually non-existent, which aligns with its low impact in consciousness. Weed is more of a sensory enhancer than a gateway to unity, a form of escapism that numbs rather than awakens.
Hey man, why you gotta do my favorite substance like that?
What's your evidence?
He said the self-identifier, my.
Right.
Case closed.
Right.
The consciousness level is the bodily/sensory realm. In summary, still in the body, no entities, and very little consciousness raising properties. But wait, now we have Shrooms. And this is where things really start to turn around. This is the start of the ascension ladder. Highly capable of inducing ego death only at higher doses, most people remain in duality, watching patterns, hearing voices, processing trauma, and you're still a self, just one surrounded by visions and emotions. But at the right depth, something shifts, time dissolves, internal dialogue stops. You're not just observing reality, you are reality. You melt into it, the line between inside and outside vanishes. Non-duality with shrooms isn't about detaching from the self, it's about realizing you were never separate to begin with. Entities are often sensed more than seen. They show up as a voice, a presence. They feel natural, ancient, and emotionally resonant, as if the earth itself is speaking through them. There's something benevolent about the nature of mushrooms. They don't just show you the truth, they seem to want you to wake up. Many people leave with a newfound sensitivity to nature, animals, or even discomfort around eating meat, like the forest left a mark on them. And maybe that's no surprise, since mushrooms form the underground mycelium network that connects almost all plant life. So when it feels like the forest is communicating with you, maybe it is. Hello, tree. This can't be.
Why not?
It should be noted that shrooms are chemically close to DMT, but their spirit is earthbound, grounding you while pointing upwards. The consciousness level is the earth cosmic bridge. In summary, bridges the inner and outer world. Entities are often felt more than seen, with a gentle nudge towards unity and cosmic empathy. Before we move on to Shroom's electric brother, LSD, I'm going to say this very quickly. This video is probably going to get demonetized, so if you want to support me, feel free to pick up one of these new pieces of merch with the link down in the description. I appreciate all the support. So LSD is a strange in-between. It can induce ego death, but for most people it keeps the observer's self intact. You'll be thinking, watching patterns, having realizations, but still aware that you are the one having them. True non-duality only begins to emerge at higher doses, where the lines between self and reality fade entirely. But even then, if you resist the merging, the experience can become terrifying, because the cling to the ego while being pulled towards God is essentially saying to God, no, I want to stay in hell. I've had both ends of the spectrum. Some entities encountered felt demonic at first, like being confronted by death or judgment. One of them I heard and felt but didn't see. I later recognized them as Samuel the Accuser, who exposes your ego. Another was Shakti, revealed herself by name and through a wave of love, so powerful it defied explanation. I physically saw them as complex patterns with eyes. Their presence was a direct match to Hindu descriptions I had never read before. These weren't just hallucinations, these were spiritual initiations that launched me from someone nearing a very dark ending to someone living a dream. LSD is the great amplifier. It reflects your mental state back to you, magnified. It's deeply intellectual, the kind of trip where you can have a thought about a thought about a thought, all chained and still coherent. Visually, it's intense. Nature transforms, symbols emerge, and perception folds in on itself, but it can turn from wonder to fear in a heartbeat, especially when you lose control. If you're not mentally prepared, it can trap you in thought loops or inflate your ego instead of dissolving it. LSD opens the door to cosmic awareness, but only if you're ready to walk through it. Consciousness level is the cosmic mind, still quite separated but not as much so. Entities will often be a presence more than visual. If they are visual, it will be interwoven into the physical environment. You will feel deeply connected to everything, but the majority of the time it's still you observing. Now here's a substance that is extremely bizarre. Salvia. It represents duality in its most bizarre form. Instead of separating you from your ego in the usual way, it completely displaces your identity. You don't just lose yourself, you become something else entirely. A fence, a cell, a concept. It's not metaphorical, it feels real. You often forget you were even human, but in doing so, Salvia reveals something profound. The identity is fluid. And no, not in the modern sense, consciousness isn't locked to a single form, it can be poured into anything.
This explains why higher beings might speak through people.
Salvia shows that everything is just a vessel to be filled. Entity encounters are rare and usually non-interactive. You're so far removed from your usual self that you're more like an object than a being, not something a conscious entity would bother speaking to. The experience is deeply disorientating, time warping, and often terrifying. You don't come back the same, and not in a mythical, healing way, but in a fragmented, shaken kind of way. It feels less like a trip and more like a glitch in consciousness. Salvia doesn't dissolve the ego, it throws it out and gives you something else. It's duality twisted into non-duality. A reminder that if the source is truly infinite, then every possible reality, identity, and form must also exist. Consciousness level is the interdimensional rift. Complete consciousness displacement. It's duality in the form of non-duality. It shows you how you are connected to everything and aren't fundamentally locked into place. It may show you that there are other realities out there as well, since if the source is infinite, the possibilities of realities are as well. And here we have the spirit molecule. DMT. It exists naturally in the human body and may play a role in how we perceive reality. It's speculated to regulate baseline consciousness, giving structure to our waking experience. When externally introduced, the body rapidly returns it to baseline, as if it's to preserve that normal illusion of reality. That alone suggests it might be a key to how reality is generated and maintained. While you still very much can be you shall witness surreal landscapes, impossible geometry, and a sense of being launched into another dimension. But you're watching it all unfold. It's intense, but still dualistic to a certain degree. Entity encounters are almost guaranteed.
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure? Do you have clinical depression?
Machine elves, alien intelligence, godlike figures, they often appear with purpose, either guiding, testing, or observing you with a level of knowledge that feels far beyond human communication. They can talk to you in a telepathic way, or emotional, but it feels undeniably real. DMT isn't gentle, it's a rocket, overwhelming and alien. Time breaks down, space folds, and it feels like dying, rebirth, revelation, and data all at once. A single hit can contain a lifetime of meaning, but it's not without risk. Without preparation or integration, it can leave you disorientated or emotionally shaken. You're no longer in your world, you're in theirs, and you may not come back with all the pieces in order. Spiritually, it bypasses religion. It drops you into the direct presence of a higher intelligence. That's why it's hard for some, especially those who externalize divinity. In the Bible, Moses met God through a burning acacia bush, a tree that naturally contains DMT, and when he asked for God's name, the answer was simple.
I am who I am.
Pure being, no separation, God is everything. DMT shows you that same truth, if you're ready for it. The consciousness level is the hyperastral/entity dimension. DMT catapults you into a reality far beyond the human mind, a dimension of raw intelligence and conscious entities. This realm shatters the illusion of separation. And if that was not enough, there's one final one, 5-MeO DMT. There's no duality. This substance bypasses identity entirely. There is no you to observe, no visuals to interpret, no stories to tell. Even the idea of separation evaporates almost instantly. This is the closest thing we have to non-duality, becoming God, full absorption into the source. You don't witness oneness, you become it. There are no thoughts, no self, no boundaries, only pure being, infinite stillness and absolute unity. Not love for something, just love itself. There are no entities here. You're too far gone for separation. There is no other to meet, because all is one and any sense of guidance or presence quickly dissolves into the totality of source. 5-MeO DMT is not visionary, it's existential. It doesn't show you anything, it destroys everything that isn't real. It is the great eraser, the sacred void, the return to the start. It doesn't entertain, it annihilates illusion. This is not a casual experience. It can be overwhelmingly terrifying if you're not ready to let go. The surrender required is total, and any resistance can feel like death. Some return unable to put it into words, others don't want to come back at all. Essentially, more than any other substance, 5-MeO demands full safety, trust, and intention. You must be in a state where full ego death won't shatter you, because it will happen. The consciousness level is pretty simple. It's the source/Godhead, the origin of all that is. There is nothing beyond this. That is it. So as you can see, this list has an increasing effect of non-duality as the strength increases, and when you ride up the chain, it includes a stronger and stronger feeling of union with God or source. And there being more and more presence of higher dimensional and mythological entities along the road is really pointing to this being something beyond just a hallucination. I get why this idea gets pushed back against, because truthfully it really is a bit unsettling to think we are just a fragmentation of the one, and our existence is majorly illusionary. But really, is it so bad to be the thing we've been searching for? I'm not saying any of this is a fact. This was just a theory I had the other day and felt like looking into it more. And it does seem to have some substance to it, doesn't it? Just like this video right here.